Hi, welcome back. So from our last video, we discussed how to create workflow rules and attach a workflow action to that rule. In this video, we will be discussing in more detail what these different workflow actions are and how do we create them with Salesforce. In Salesforce, there are 4 different workflow actions. We have email alerts, field updates, tasks, and outbound messages. Email alerts are simply notifications triggered by a workflow rule. Within those alerts, we can use email templates and merge record data from the system with these templates. Field updates, meanwhile, update any field on a triggered record, updating that field with the values specified in a formula. Next, we have workflow tasks, which are actions that generate Salesforce tasks when a workflow rule is triggered, allowing admins to assign different tasks to users based on those rules. Lastly, we have outbound messages, which are messages to any external SOAP-based or anything that accepts XML messages. These messages are again triggered by our workflow rules. However, we will not be discussing this action as this is out of scope for most administrators and is more heavily used within custom development and integration. So for our example, we will be creating an email alert, a field update, and a workflow task. These actions will all be added to the opportunity workflow we created earlier. So for our email alert, we will be creating a simple alert to notify our international sales director about a recently closed major opportunity. Next, for our field update, we will be updating a field called GST, and we'll calculate the custom GST once our workflow rule has been triggered. And lastly, we'll be creating a workflow task that will create a follow-up task to our sales reps to contact the opportunity after the opportunity being closed. So to start off, let's create our email alert first. So let's go to the Setup menu, go to Build, Create, click on Workflow and Approvals, and then click on Workflow Rule. So next, select Opportunity Workflow Rule that we created earlier. Click on Edit to update it. Select New Email Alert. So first off, let's enter the email alert details like the description, just email, international sales. Let's retain the unique name generated by Salesforce. Let's select the email template for this particular email alert. So let's select a pre-built email template. Next, let's select the recipient type and the recipients for this email alert. So you can either select a user, a role and its subordinates and public groups, even a specific email field, of owner, as well as account owners as well. So let's just select role. Let's select Customer Support International, as well as the Sales Director for International, as well as the International Sales. We can also add additional emails, up to 5 email addresses for our particular email alert. But for now, let's leave it blank. For the from email address, so this would be the address that will be displayed on the from section of an email that we send using the email alert. So let's click on Save to finalize our changes. So after creating our email alert, we will be creating our field update for the goods and sales tax field or the GST field. So on the workflow actions page for our rule, let's click on Add Workflow Action and select New Field Update. So next, enter the name and unique name for our field update. So let's select Compute GST. Let's select the field that we're going to update. So let's select along the custom field section, select GST. Next, we have an option to whether we will reevaluate workflow rules after field changes. What this means is that once we compute GST, let's say if a workflow rule is based on the GST field, let's say, for example, if the GST amount goes up to a certain number, it triggers certain email alerts or other workflow actions. Checking this checkbox means that it will re-trigger those additional workflow rules. For this particular workflow rule, let's uncheck it and move over to specifying the new field value. So let's select Use a formula to set the new value. We can either select a new value outright, let's say 100, or we can create a formula that would compute for the GST. So for our example, we'll be using your formula editor. So let's click on Show Formula Editor. Now let's create our formula. So first, let's select Insert Field and select the Amount field. Click on Insert to insert that field. So next, let's insert the operator multiply, and let's multiply it over our value, which is the 15%, which will be 0.15. Let's just click check syntax to make sure that the formula is correct. So we just verify that there are no syntax errors with the function. So let's click on Save to finalize our changes. With us creating this new field update, we are assured that the GST tax field is populated every time an amount is put into any major opportunity record, which allows salespeople to instantly get visibility of any tax value a deal might incur. So you can see the value in field updates because it happens instantly and it happens without the need for human intervention. So finally, there is one more workflow action that we can create and will attach to our existing workflow rule. So we will create a task workflow action. So let's just click on workflow action and click on new task. So to start off, let's select the assignee for the new task to be automatically created. We can use the lookup to search for a user or a role. So just click on the icon, and on the modal dialog, let's select users. So for example, this particular user, Mike Murphy. Or on the converse, we can also select role owners, creators, partner users, or portal roles. For example, for role, we can select international sales. So this makes the workflow action much more dynamic, since then whoever has this particular role will get the workflow action task. So for now, let's just stick with Mike Murphy. For the subject, let's select follow-up, major opportunity. Let's retain the unique name. For the due date, we're going to select the rule trigger date, which means that when the rule is triggered for a particular opportunity plus a certain amount of days, let's select 15 days. So within the triggering of the rule and within 15 days of the triggering of the rule, that means the due date for the task. So let's select the status, which is not started. Priority, let's say high. Let's say notify assignee. For the comments, you can leave it blank for now and click on Save to finalize our task. So that's it. We have just created several different workflow actions for our workflow rule. Knowledge of these workflow actions and how we can create them properly is important when configuring our system. So in this video, we have created actions like first, creating an email alert, next, creating a field update, and lastly, creating automated tasks. So in the next video, we'll be discussing how to create email templates and how we can use them to standardize email communications coming from our Salesforce implementation.